We are delighted that you're joining us for another podcast of Wake Up Aligned, and it is the podcast for chiropractors, where we get to talk about chiropractic lifestyle, and topics of interest. You can contact us through our email, and that is mailbag@amcfamily.com. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back yet again to another exciting episode of Wake Up Aligned. And as you guys know, we are here for chiropractors, and we're talking about things that are important or should be important to chiropractors and people who are interested in chiropractic. I am your host, Dr. Shannon McMurtry, and I'm here joined with my good friend and longtime friend, Tom Owen. How you doing today, Tom?
I am well. As they say, if I was doing any better, I'd have to be twins. So I am living abundantly, my friend.
That's the way to be. Absolutely. Of course, we're approaching the end of the year, so we've got a lot to be thankful for. And I know that this time of year is very active with our goal setting processes, and you always set goals for yourself and for AMC Aligned. I do the same. So it's going to be interesting to see where we are in the next 2 or 3 weeks as the Blue Coat team get together and get prepared for the next year. That's something that I don't think a lot of folks, listeners, and I just don't think they realize how much work goes into this thing that we do. And yes, it's a passion. Yes, it's a love. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. But we don't just show up and make some phone calls and pat folks on the back. There is a significant amount of training and effort that goes into this thing that we do. So, but
the sacrifice that the Blue Coat team makes. Now, there's one thing about me doing it. This is my life. This is what I live for, pouring in to others, seeing the potential that they don't see in themselves. And having the patience to develop that potential is, that's my burning purpose, desire, passion. But these Blue Coats, I mean, they just amaze me in the fact that these are all very successful. They're not, they're not looking for a job. Let me say it that way. Sometimes you have to take the position because I have to. These people are very, very successful in practice. Each and every one of them are running large practices, yet they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Yep. And the commitment they make to pour into chiropractors and develop chiropractors and teach and hold chiropractors to a gold standard, is beyond me. It really is beyond me. They don't do it for me. That's not about Tom Owen. Nothing that we do is about me or you, Shannon.
Right.
It's about this bigger purpose, developing chiropractic and the potential that's within it. So yeah, shout out to just our Blue Coats, because nobody on this that's listening to this podcast, you take it for granted how much work goes in to doing what we do. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, just about the time the doctors, the chiropractors are getting back into their clinics after the holidays and getting the rust knocked off and kind of getting back in the swing of things, there's going to be about 80-90% of our Blue Coat team traveling out of their love and their desire to serve to Jacksonville to go through some training with us. So it's a big commitment. They are a very talented, heartfelt group of people, and couldn't do it without them, but so grateful for their service and how they give. So.
Amen.
I know that we like to do shout outs, and I have a very special shout out today, if you don't mind me getting the ball rolling here. But there's a wonderful doctor that I think all of us have had a role to play in their development and the results that they are achieving. And that is Dr. Jeremiah Bursch. Dr. Jeremiah Bursch, a lot of people know him if you're in AMC aligned. He He's done some of our philosophy classes and such, and he's a well-known entity inside of this family. But I can't remember where he started and how long ago that was. You might have a better idea of that than I am, but I just got the report. I think it was either early this week. Yeah, it was early this week. Dr. Bursch has crossed over $90,000 in collections for a single month. And years ago, that would have been an impossibility for that guy. He's the same guy. He's the same. He looks the same on the outside, but that's a totally different dude on the inside. So congratulations to him and all those who've had a role to play for his success.
I know we have sheets full, pages of honorable mentions and shout outs that we can give. And I do have a lot of history with Dr. Bursch in particular, but there's a couple of points I would like to cover. First of all, he didn't just hit that mark. He shattered his former record.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yes, by over 22,000. That's his largest according to his CA coach, which is another shout out I'd like to give.
Sure.
Talking about our blue coat team. Folks, you know, Dad used to have a thing where he'd teach, if you're not utilizing the resources of CA coaching, mentoring, team building, there's an old exercise my dad would say. He'd say, son, just write FOOL on your hand and then hit your forehead, because that is just foolish. And that's what I think the CA coaching is making a major impact in each and every office that they work with, because when that team is in unity and it's in sync, and then they have a bigger purpose they just hit different levels. So that was the CA coach on Dr. Bursch that mentioned that their record by over 22,000, and they're still not done. Now, very quickly, and then I know we've got to move on to other things, but yes, I do have a very special place in my heart for Dr. Bursch. And I believe it was, in fact, he and I had a text back and forth together on Thanksgiving Day. Just, he and I have a very special relationship. I just appreciate him so much. And he shared how many years it was, whether it was 8 years or 10 years ago. He thought he had gone as far as he could go.
Wow.
And he was stepping away from the AMC aligned family at the time. And he and I, it was in Minneapolis, and I literally just happened to be walking down the hall and passed by him and sat down with him for just a few minutes. And he and I had one of those knee to knee, I would call them like front porch moments, right? When you're just sitting, and I just said, Jeremiah, there is more in you than you realize. Your concept, your potential is greater than your concepts of today. Now that goes for just about every listener that's tuning in today. If you want to write something down, the God-given potential that God has designed in you, which is truth in waiting, is greater than your concepts of today. Now, what does that mean? Well, it just means just because you don't understand what's possible, just because you don't understand the potential that someone else like myself can see in you, doesn't mean it's not true. It's a reality, but you have to step out in faith. You have to start believing in it, and you have to take action towards it. And Dr. Bursch did that day. He met it. He was willing to receive it. And that cat has been a different doctor. He's been a completely different character ever since. And tell me this, Dr. Shannon, have you ever seen Dr. Bursch shy away since then?
Not a once. No,
not once. He might have questioned, right? He might look at it different. He might not be the fastest to the finish line, right? He's not one of those guys that's going to make really quick decisions and run off and blaze a new trail, but steady is the man, right? Consistency. And he has never shied away from that challenge. And I'm just super proud of him. I know it's a long-winded shout out, but you struck a chord in my heart for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think the shout out stops there. Here he is achieving new levels of concept and success and patient care, and all the accolades, all the flowers coming his way. But he has a heart for others. He takes it on as a mission and travels on his own dime to help out other people who are who need that little extra. So there's not enough time on this podcast to really talk about him and how much we appreciate him and his impact. And I still feel like the best is yet to come for that guy.
Amen. I agree.
Hey, I got another one, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what you just shared about Dr. Jeremiah, and also what I want to talk about today, and that's Dr. Matt Eichen. Matt Eichen came back to AMC, and for those of you who don't know Dr. Matt Eichen, he goes way, way back in the day, and man, to know Matt Eichen I'm smiling right now just thinking about him, right? To know Matt Eichen is to know somebody that just loves life and loves people, and he took some sabbatical time away from AMC, recently came back, and we're so happy to have him back as part of our immediate family. I feel like, Tom, that even if you take some time away, you never leave the family for sure, right? You're just a family in absentia. But I'm just delighted to see him back. And I ran his numbers. Oh boy, if we can get Dr. Matt producing efficiently in what he's got in his office, he's going to be throwing up some very, very impressive numbers very soon. So welcome back, Dr. Matt. Glad to have you.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of a segue into what you wanted to cover, right? But I can't let you say Dr. Matt Eichen without me jumping in and just saying that is like a brother coming home.
Yeah.
Right. And few people, you talking about how far back that goes? Few people would know that Dr. Matt Eichen was actually one of the very first, I think he was the first of 4 technically blue coats.
Yes, right.
And I can tell a story. I mean, I don't want to take up everybody's time today, but I remember talking about the training and the development of the blue coats. Of all days, it took place on my wedding day.
Right.
I was literally leaving. I knew I was going to be gone for 2 weeks, and I was sitting there with Dr. Bearden and Dr. Osborne by the pool.
Yep.
My ceremony was like 3 hours later, and I'm like, now listen, this is where we're starting. This is who we're working with. And Matt Eichen was just grinning ear to ear. He's always just loves people, and he just wants to see the best in others. And anyway, so Dr. Matt was, he's got a long history with us, and he is my brother. And I'm super proud to say that. And you said something before I throw it back to you about the way we look at it is, you can take your sabbaticals, but once a family member, always a family member.
Amen.
And like for example, Dr. Brandon Combs.
Yep.
He's not a current member at this point. Mayor of Charleston, Illinois. How about that? Mayor, I know people, right? And, but Brandon Combs he's just one of my brothers, and, just found out recently his family's, if you want to, just prayer request, his mother, is dealing with a bout with cancer. And anyway, I just reached out and made sure that the AMC aligned prayer team was aware of this, and that we were going to be covering him and his mom and his family in prayer and standing in agreement for that healing. And, that just blew him away. He texted me back. He says, I can't believe that. And I'm like, no, Dr. Brandon, you don't understand. Once family, always family. And that's the way I look at it.
Sure.
You can't love people, you have to love for the sake of loving, and you give for the sake of giving. And you can't have a authentic relationship with someone else based on love if it's all based on a current arrangement. That has nothing to do with relationship. So that's the way I look at this aligned family. You know, it's not based on some current arrangement. This is who we are, and you know, whether regardless of the current arrangement that we have, we're family, and we have to look at each other that way. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no way we can reach out to 2 or 3,000 people every single month, or whatever the number is of people who have come through and taken a sabbatical. Wow. But
a lot more than that. But yeah, a lot more than that. But yeah, I understand.
Once there's an opportunity for the family to re-engage, we're certainly all about that. So, all right. So I mentioned Dr. Matt, and that opens up really what I want to talk about today. And I'm going to use Dr. Matt as an example, not because he's an example of what's great or what's wrong, but just because he's fresh on my mind. The best thing Dr. Matt Eichen did was he retained chiropractic care as his priority and his primary service to his community. Okay. Now, I want to put a pin in that. We'll come. That's on the cork board with a pin. We're going to come back to that. But that's a very smart move for a number of reasons. Because I've seen the other side of that, guys. I've seen where the doctor, the chiropractor, has allowed themselves to bring in non-chiropractic into their business, and there's nothing really wrong with that. We'll talk about it. But they bring the non-chiropractic into the business, and it's the new hot thing. It's the new in vogue. You know, everybody's clamoring for it. Everybody's wanting it. The chiropractor has it. So the office fills up with this device or this thing. And they start to drift away from the chiropractic. You start to see the maintenance and wellness numbers begin to decline. You start to see the new patients declining, patient visits declining. And then when the laws change, when the new thing loses its novelty, now this doctor is having to what? Rebuild. That's not the way you want to run your business. I know. I can already see you on the other side of this screen. You are ready to talk about the business side of it. But Tom, there's another part of it, and that is the benefit to the patient. So do you want to throw it over to your side to talk about the business first, and then we'll come back to me? Or you want me to just roll with it?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a lot to talk about when you go down this road, but I mean, you just said something that we're not talking chiropractic right now.
Right.
Okay. This is Business 101. Business 101 says you never, ever leave your cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something that's, and I'm going to say making money or profitable,
mm-hmm.
right? And it's your cornerstone, it's your foundation piece, you never leave your foundation. Under no circumstance. Does not mean that you don't add on to the foundation. Does not mean that you can't add other components. But it is foolish business to leave your core business. It's and to me, you know, I'll throw it right back to you here in just a second, but to me, it's also foolish to run away from the very thing that makes you different in a marketplace. Now,
absolutely.
Okay, now I'm about to say the word chiropractic, but I could be talking about plumbing. I could be talking about engineering. I could be talking about architecture, right? If you have something in that industry that's unique and different, then you never hide from that. So when chiropractors run from the very thing that makes them unique, there's only in this country right around 40,000, give or take, practicing chiropractors. There's about 50,000 or so licensed. There's about 40,000 that's using that license in some way, shape, or form. Only 40,000 people that have any inkling of an idea of what chiropractic treatment is. And if I asked you, what is chiropractic treatment? What is chiropractic? Well, we would get 40,000 different answers
Amen.
to that, right? That's that lack of unity in our profession. But still, lump them all together, there's only about 40,000. There's 330 million, thereabouts, people in this country. And I think, what was the percentage, Shannon? Less than, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15% of that population has even experienced chiropractic.
Yeah, I think the stat through the years fluctuates right around 10% plus or minus of usage of chiropractic services, right?
Right. So there's something that makes you unique. Nobody else in the country can deliver it, and yet we continue to run away from that identity. So it's foolish on 2 points from a business perspective. One, you never, ever, 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 ever let go of your core revenue. You don't do it. You can add to it. You can have different streams. But when you take for granted, you lose what you take for granted. One of the lesson several of my mentors taught me: don't ever, what you take for granted in life, you lose. And if you take for granted that business of, well, that's just chiropractic, I have to see the patient, I have to put my hands on them, I have to spend so much time with them, that takes work. Yeah, it does. But guess what it does? It never fails.
That's right.
Now, let me tell you, other avenues and other verticals, those do have a shelf life. They will, but chiropractic will never, ever fail you. All right. So now you can streamline it. You can be more effective. You can be more efficient. You can be more productive with it. But chiropractic stands the test of time. This other stuff, these add-ons, do not. So that's the reason why it's a cornerstone. Again, it's why it's your foundation, because the foundation won't crack.
You may be sitting, as a listener, you may be sitting where you are listening to this thinking, well, there's 30 other chiropractors in my county alone. Certainly I'm not unique. I don't stand out. No one has ever showed the stats, and I don't know if they exist, Tom, but I would love to see, of those 40,000 licensed, full-time, whatever that is, chiropractors in the country, whittle it down. How many of those actually still adjust patients? Whittle it down even further. How many of those adjust patients on a retail basis? Basically, you tell me what you need and I'll give you the adjustment. Whittle it down further. How many of them are up to pain control and pain management, and then they street the patient because they're not sure, what chiropractic does beyond that? How many of them are like me? Comprehensive, right? We're gonna give you the adjustments that you need. We're going to recommend what you need. May not be what you want, but my job is to tell you what you need. We're going to lay this out in a comprehensive fashion, and it's going to be quality care. I would think that if you're going to whittle the 40,000 down, you're probably less than 15 or 10,000 chiropractors who have that type of approach consistently in their career, maybe even 5,000.
Oh, yeah, you're being generous.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because the statistics show you that,
right,
Dr. Shannon. I mean, we can go to other stats, and we don't necessarily need to get into that today, but I mean, that goes back to what's the national average, PVA. It tells you when your national average is PVA is 6, what's that tell you?
That's right.
You're the minority, when you're talking about that last example that you were sharing.
And humanity is always looking for the best that they can find and the best that they can afford. Now, affordability is a perspective. It's a judgment. It's not based on how many dollars that it's charging per week. There's more to it than that. And that's why people like Gonstead and Sweat and other people throughout the generations have always bubbled up to the top because they were perceived to be the very best, and people would fly from all over the world for that chiropractor and the service that they provide. And if we would get behind that as a profession, if we would embrace what makes us unique, what makes us different in the healthcare marketplace, and get good at that, like get very good at what that service is, you would have more patients than what you could deal with. There would be people coming from hours or even days away to get your service. And that's still happening today in our society. So there's a business element to this, right? We have to talk about that because chiropractic is a business. That's the model. There's also a patient care element to this. And this is what I am very, very passionate about. Listen, I know what chiropractic has done for me. I know what it has done for my family. I am a living, breathing testimony to the benefit of chiropractic care on the human body. And I've seen it in my patients, and I see it through indirectly through the members that I mentor to. There are multiple times in a week that people are sharing their great results in their clinics of patients getting what most of lay people would consider to be miraculous results. And for me, it's just same old, same old. That power, that benefit, you never, ever want to lose sight of that. You never want to withhold that from anybody. Now, I'm a chiropractor. When I look in the mirror, I see chiropractor. So yes, I want all of my patients to receive the adjustment because I know for the money invested, for the time required, that is the very best thing that I can do for them. If I got the subluxations cleared out and I did nothing else for that patient, I know, I rest easy knowing they're going to receive benefit far beyond what I ask of them for their commitment of time and money. I know that. I feel it. I live that life. So I never want to abandon chiropractic care. Always keep your chiropractic as the primary, as Tom said, cornerstone one in what you do for your community. But with that being said, I understand the stats of healthcare consumption in this country. If there are 90% of the population who don't utilize chiropractic care, I don't want to be a non-starter for 90% of the people in my community. I don't mind having other services to offer like nutrition and advanced therapies and, et cetera. Is it beneficial? Absolutely. Does it delay or withhold a surgical procedure or keep them off the crap coming from the pharmaceutical companies? Hey, there's value in that alone, right? Delaying those things that you can't go back from, right? Once the scalpel is inserted, the damage is done. You're not ever going to be 100% again. So if we can delay that indefinitely, there's value there. So I would be happy to meet those patients where they are, but I don't care what the money is. I don't care how easy it is to market it or people clamoring for it. Never, ever let go of your chiropractic. Just don't do it. It's not worth the risk to you and the business, but think about the patients. Those patients are the ones that you are actually denying the very best thing that you can provide for them.
And if you don't know how to do that, right? Because, we're not talking about, I guess we are talking about an elephant in the room. All right.
Okay.
These components that you're talking about adding to a practice, they're not going anywhere.
No.
Right. And they, you know what? I just get so tired of people thinking it's something new, that it's been around. The stuff's been around for 40 years, but don't forget the fact that these components have a shelf life, and you have to understand that this is not something that you stand on like this is going to last the test of time.
Right.
You understand what?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And my wife works at a hospital. She oversees the therapy department. My children don't ask to go to the hospital and get plugged up to a machine. My children, even my adult daughter, who's 24, comes home from to visit over the holidays. She wants to be adjusted, right? That's the power of chiropractic. The people who know and have experienced it their whole life, they know what they have. Be a part of that process, folks. Don't abandon it. Add to it. Yes, be smart about your business, but don't exchange the easy money for the best thing that you can provide for your patients. Don't make that decision.
It's such a quandary because I get it. I understand. If it can help a patient, right? And if it can give you access to a patient that you're never going to see anyway, but if that's the only vehicle that they're ever going to be introduced to, and because you're choosing as the chiropractor, right? Look, you're not fooling me. It's I want to chase that shiny object because it promises bigger wealth. They and it gives me opportunities to make money that or access to patients that I wouldn't normally see. And it's easier than having to go in there and see 300 patient visits, right? But don't get caught up in that because, first of all, a lot of times that's fleeting money. Okay. So I said this earlier in the show, which is going to stand the test of time, chiropractic, and I'm not taking shots at any one therapy, but it's still a therapy. It's not a healing art. Okay. And don't make the mistake. All right. I'm going to wrap my part up here. Don't make the mistake of chasing money. All right. People that chase money, those are the people that lose money every day being a day trader on the stock market. It's the steady, it's what counts, it's what's going to pay those dividends long term. What's going to have that steady growth? All right? Or are you going to buy the next, try to hit the bullseye and buy the next Amazon, but in the process there are a lot of people losing a lot of money every day. That's what this is. That's called there's I reference my dad a lot. I've got a lot of mentors. I got a lot of influences. I can go down through Tom Sloan, Sidney Platt, Joe Charbonneau, some of these people that made major impacts in my life. But I can just hear my dad and I driving down the road, in his Lincoln Town Car, and we're driving the back roads like we did, and we just talked business, and Dad say, "Man, that's old money right there. That guy knows what he's talking about. That's some old money." Or that's new money, right? Old money knows what the heck lasts, right? And they build significant, serious wealth. How do you build significant, serious wealth? You build it on strong foundations. Or you got these cats that think they're something and they flash that money, right? That's new money. Because if you got new money, you want everyone to know about it, and you want to make sure everybody knows what you're driving, and want to show off your car, your house on Facebook or Instagram. But the old country gentleman, Shannon, from being in Middle Tennessee, You got that cat that he don't need to tell anybody. He already knows that he's old money, and he drives up in the Chevy truck and gets out in his, in Middle Tennessee, he could get out when overalls on.
Overalls, exactly.
But he's not counting fives and 20s in his overalls pocket. What's he counting? Not even hundreds. He's got some thousands. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm kind of getting off of there, but just realize what chiropractic is. Chiropractic builds true wealth, lasting wealth, and it pays dividends for years to come. Stop trying to shoot the gap. Stop trying to do that and trying to buy the next Amazon. It's great to add some of that to your portfolio. All right. Now, as you can tell, I like investing and things of that nature. It's good to have some of those outliers in my portfolio, but I'm gonna have those steady eddies that pay me significant dividends on a monthly and quarterly basis, and I don't have to worry about it. So anyway, that's what I had to add to it. I know we're up against the clock, and we could certainly talk about this. Maybe we could do another show on it sometime. But
yeah, maybe so. I feel like there's still stuff left unsaid on my end, but yeah.
And you put a pin on the cork board earlier talking about Matt Eichen.
Yeah, we never got back to that pin, did we?
Right. Well, Matt is a perfect example of it. Did he let go of his foundation wealth? No, he did not. He had well-trained, well-supported, well-capable, and now he's added these outlier components, and boy, the sky's the limit when you build it that way.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Nice episode today. I really appreciate this conversation, and I want all the listeners to know that Tom dropped the word quandary just a few minutes ago. Nicely done. Did you get the thesaurus for your birthday or something? Is that?
Well, I've been hanging out with people like you, Shannon, and I catch something every once in a while.
Oh, enough said. Everyone, we certainly do appreciate your time, and we hope that this has been an episode that you have resonated with, and it's helping to inspire you and motivate you, get you equipped for your week. Send us your comments through mailbag at amcfamily.com. We love to read those, and getting more and more of those every week, which is a great thing to see. And look forward to joining you on the next podcast. Until then, God bless. And one more thing before we go. If you're a chiropractor who's searching for a better way to build a more sustainable, low-stress practice, then you can contact us at amcfamily.com. You can schedule a discovery session, or you can access any of our free content, webinars, podcasts, and the like.